Water-rich Lusatia, southern gateway to the Spree forest and the Spree floodplains. Over the next 10 years, Germany's largest man-made water body will be created near to the town of Cottbus, Lake Cottbuser Ostsee. Where water enthusiasts will soon be in their element, the Cottbus Nord open-cast mine yielded lignite for 35 years. From this, the nearby Jenschwalde power plant produced electricity and heat for millions of households.
The lignite lay at a depth of 40 meters. As the 11-meter thick coal seam was excavated, this void of the open-cast mine has to be filled. This was taken into consideration when designing the post-mining landscape. The first opening soil was deposited on a stockpile, the elevation northeast of the open-cast mine, known as the Bärenbrücke elevation. The coal was extracted and the void backfilled. Thus an inner dump was created. Step by step, the open-cast mine advanced. One part of the inner dump was prepared for recultivation. The remaining area will be under the waters of the future lake, as will the deeper trench-like border cut typical for Lusatian open-cast mines. In order to extract coal, the mining area had to be kept free of water. So the groundwater table had to be lowered to below the coal seam using a filter well system. The lowered water table had an impact on the area surrounding the open-cast mine. In the northwest, a subterranean sealing wall was built to safeguard the area behind from the effects of the lowered groundwater.
By the end of 2015, the Cottbus Nord open-cast mine's approved coal reserves were exhausted. There are still several steps to be taken before the basin of the future Ostsee Lake is ready for flooding. The shoreline slopes in the southwest and north have to be flattened out to prevent lapping water of the lake from washing the soil away. The planned normal water level is 62.5 meters above sea level. The banks have to be prepared to accommodate a water level of 61.8 to 63.5 meters, as stipulated in the approval for the open-cast mine. The greater portion of the lake bed is made up of the inner dump. This will be lowered, resulting in an overall 2-meter minimum water depth. As of 2015, about 20 million cubic meters will be redistributed during these comprehensive earthwork activities. This soil will be used to backfill the area where the coal trains exited from the open-cast mine.
The recultivated areas of the open-cast mine lie on the eastern shoreline. The material deposited here is not so interlocked as the other untouched parts of the shoreline. To stabilize the ground, a subterranean dam wall is produced with a vibro-compaction procedure. A crane is used to lower the vibrating lumps. With its oscillations, the sands of the dump are compacted. During the procedure, sand is backfilled from above. The compaction columns interlock, creating a hidden dam wall that is about 120 meters wide and embraces the entire eastern shores. Finally, the shoreline slopes will also be flattened out. Both islands on the eastern banks are treated similarly. These, as well as the eastern banks themselves, will be left to nature to restore and to provide a variety of habitats. While the earthworks are carried out, the facility for flooding will be built. By the end of 2018, all preparation work should be finalized. The lake's basin is then ready for flooding.
Roughly 80% of the water will come from the Spree River, but only the amount acceptable to the users of the river and sustainable for the animal and plant life. Flooding will be done when the Spree water level is adequately high. The flooding facility should start operations in the winter of 2018-2019. The water from the Spree River will be diverted over the Hammergraben and flow via an underground pipe to the flooding facility. It should take about 5 to 6 years from now until the Ostsee Lake is completely flooded. The water will enter the lake's basin over a 150-meter ramp. First, the northern border cut will be filled. Later, the water will flow into the southern border cuts. Finally, the water will cover the inner dump area. About 280 million cubic meters of water are needed for the flooding. Half of this fills the pore spaces within the inner dump. In the dump, the Spree water mixes with groundwater which has absorbed minerals from the ground during its slow re-rise. This groundwater from the dump will be diluted by the faster rising Spree water and hindered in escaping from the inner dump area. Some of the groundwater from the dump has already collected in the southern border cut. The directed shutting down of the filter wells will allow the groundwater from the south and the southeast to flow in. Finally, about 20% of the lake will be groundwater. Soon the flooding water will come from the Spree River and the water bodies will be completely intermixed. Most of the diluted dump groundwater will remain captive. This is good for the lake water quality. The Cottbuser Ostsee lake is taking on shape. Similar to the Spree River in Cottbus, it will be pH neutral and well suited for swimming, fishing and as a habitat for flora and fauna. The lake will be harmoniously integrated into the regional water balance.
The groundwater follows the surface relief underground. The main direction of flow is from the south to the northwest towards the Baruta River Valley. As the northwest is quite flat, a protective embankment of maximum 1.5 meters will be built. The groundwater has always been quite close to the surface in this area. Behind the sealing wall, nothing has changed during the mining period in that respect. In the other shoreline areas, where the groundwater is re-rising after mining, it will adjust to the future water level of the lake. In the south, for example, the groundwater table will be permanently lower than it was prior to mining. Nowhere will groundwater rise to higher levels than pre-mining days. The lake water level will be regulated over the outlet facility, which will be responsible for the water discharge and include a fish ladder. From the outlet facility, the water will flow into the Schwarzer Graben, by then a waterway restyled close to nature. Its route will continue via the Hammergraben, Malchse and Großes Vlies to the main river Spree.
The flooding should be complete in 2024. Then the region will gain numerous opportunities. Harbours and water sports facilities have been planned. Overnight accommodation possibilities, restaurants and other leisure activities are envisioned. The local communities will be in charge of developing their future water paradise. The Cottbuser Ostsee, a lake in sight.